Yo, what's up guys, JXT Plays here, and for this video I just wanted to showcase three PCs that I think are good for the upcoming holiday season, and for especially Black Friday because prices will be dropping down. We have a cost-effective 380 budget PC, a mid-range, not too cost-effective. I mean, it's $550, so depending on the type of person you are, well, now the prices dropped down, but it was $550, and it's in the middle, you know. It's not a lot of money, but it's not a little bit of money either for a PC. And then there's the $800, in my opinion, high-end PC. And yeah, I'm just gonna be showcasing these three PCs, and you know, maybe giving some my opinions on them and what you could swap out and all that stuff. So yeah. So for the first PC, we have this $380 PC, and I'm gonna open this up here. Alright. So for the processor, we have an Intel Pentium G4400, 3.3 gigahertz. It is a dual core and it is a Pentium. However, it can still game. Oops. It can still game. You won't get as much performance as you would with an i3, and especially not an i5. But it's the bare minimum. So I would recommend to not go anywhere lower than this if you're looking for a processor. And if you're you could go used if you want to. If you're that much on a budget, then you go used. You know, that's good. Used PC, older parts like Q6600 and all those processors. But I think that this is for newer parts. I think that this is the best budget build really you could get that will give you good, very good performance at this time. $383. With the mail-in rebate. Without, it's $430 around. But yeah, so for the processor overview, here are the specs. 3 megabytes of L3 cache, 14 nanometer process, which is all Skylake processors, 54 watts, which is very good. Doesn't draw a lot of power, very power effective. And yeah, so this is a processor, Pentium. For the motherboard, I went with the cheapest LGA 1151 motherboard I could find, and that was the MSI H110M Gaming Micro ATX LGA 1151, of course, socket motherboard. And this is black and red. I tried to make this build black and red. And by the way, I'm going to be leaving links to these builds in the description, so check the description for the build, so you can mix and match and change them however you want. But I chose this motherboard. It supports up to 32 gigabytes of RAM. However, you could only use DDR4 2133 megahertz, which is not a big deal. But yeah, that's that. So yeah, let's do this two out. For the RAM, I went with the crucial 8 gigabyte stick. I went with one 8 gigabyte stick because all the RAM with 2 4 gigabyte sticks are more expensive than this, and pretty much the only reason why is because this is $40. Looks like from NCIX, $40 as opposed to Kingston HyperX, which is like what, $55 now, I think. $55 for 2 4 gigabyte sticks, and when you could get this for $40, so you're saving $15. There is no heat spreader on it or any design on it. It's just your regular old green RAM with the RAM modules, but or squares, if you will. But yeah, this is just your RAM, 8 gigabytes. It's gonna do you fine. You may be thinking, isn't it gonna run like a little bit slower or something because it's not in dual channel with another stick, and it's not 4 gigabyte sticks. Well, all that matters is the size of the RAM, the amount. It's 8 gigabytes. It means speed. It's gonna be a little bit slower, but from my knowledge, it's not gonna be noticeable at all, really. It may be in programs like Adobe Photoshop or Sony Vegas, or stuff that requires processor and RAM and all that, it may be noticeable in the speed there, but not in gaming. In gaming, it doesn't matter, just the amount. So that's RAM. For the hard drive, I went with the Western Digital Caviar Blue 1TB. This is a very reliable hard drive. I actually have the black version of this, which is a little bit faster. But I have the same 1TB one, 3.5 inch, and this is very good. As you can see, it has 1,454 ratings, 4.7 average out of all those ratings. It almost has a 5 star, so that's excellent. And yeah, this is a very reliable hard drive. It's gonna hold all your Steam games. If you decide to start content creation, it should hold some of that too. And some of my thoughts on this. I would recommend going with a large hard drive before you get an SSD, because if you're looking to do gaming, get a hard drive. That's you don't want to get like what's it called, 120 gigabyte SSD for this price when you can get 1 terabyte with a hard drive, and you can hold all your games and stuff like that. So if you want speed and starting up and moving around your OS, get an SSD. But I would recommend getting a hard drive, and if you could get an SSD with this hard drive, that'll be perfect. That's awesome. I would do it, but I'm sure because most of you can't, because this is a if you're interested in this build, this is a very budget build. It's more oriented towards people looking to buy in the budget section of PC gaming. But yeah, that's the hard drive. For the GPU, I went with the newly released Gefore GTX 1050, 2 GB, and this is the one from Zotac. It is mini, so it's like a mini ITX form factor card, but it is clocked at 1.35 gigahertz, which is really good. The Maxwell-based GPUs were clocked at around, on average, I'm thinking about it, probably like 1.05 gigahertz, so this is a step up from there. I was thinking about like a 750 Ti for this build, or 950, but those are becoming more and more outdated. And although this is 2 gigabytes, and it can be comparable to a 950, it's still going to offer a little bit better performance than the 950, and it may be the same in some cases, but from my knowledge, it's better. So, and it's cheap. It's only $110 at this point right now, free shipping, handling, without tax, by the way. But yeah, so this is it's a short card. So let's say you want to exchange your case for something shorter or smaller, you could fit this in there. But yeah, this is the GPU, and now I'm thinking about it, it should be running your games like Fallout 4, Battlefield 1, GTA 5. GTA 5 should run at like 60 FPS plus with high to very high settings. Battlefield 1 should run at medium settings, 60 FPS plus, high settings, 50 FPS plus. Fallout 4 should run 50 FPS on high to ultra settings. The only limiting factor of this GPU is the 2 gigabytes of VRAM, which is becoming more and more outdated also, because games are taking up more and more VRAM due to their larger texture size and all that enhancements and stuff like that. So my thoughts on this, I would probably wait, save up, and get a 1050 Ti instead. If you want like a PC now, you're trying to get it as soon as possible in the holiday season, I would get this card. But I think the prices for the 1050 Ti and the 1060 3 gigabyte are going to drop coming Black Friday and that period of time. So I would, if it were I would wait till those come down in price during Black Friday season. So yep, that's the GPU. And for the case, I chose the Corsair Spec 01 Red because it's black and red. The motherboard's black and red. It fits the motherboard. Yeah, I think it looks pretty nice too. It looks pretty ergonomic, you fit your cables back and behind the motherboard. Yeah, 2 fans, or let me see, 1 fan, 1 red fan. Yep. Looks nice. A side panel window. That's another one. I think that's one of the main reasons I picked it. $40 or $50 without the mail-in rebate. But let's say you're taking advantage of the mail-in rebate, $40, and you have a side panel window, a case fan, nice airflow, ergonomic. It looks nice. You know, only for like $40. So that's nice. That's good. That's the case there. Corsair Speckle 1 Red. For the power supply, we went Corsair again. Corsair CXM 450 watt, 80 plus bronze certified, and it is semi-modular. So the cables that you don't need to use, some of those you could take out, like the PCIe, as you can see here in the peripheral and SATA. But yeah, this looks like a nice power supply. As you can see, those are the cables taken out there. And yeah, this should fit into the case well. It has, pretty good ratings, you know. Not a lot of ratings, but of the ratings that there are, they are good ratings. So yeah, that's the power supply. So all in all, this is the $380 build, and things I would switch out. If it were I would wait and get an i3 instead of this. That's the biggest thing, because the Pentium can be limiting, but I think this PC right here is very good to start off with, because it's very upgradable. You know, you could upgrade this RAM anytime. If you want, you could pick up another 8GB stick, boom, 16 gigabytes of RAM. Pick up an i3 or an i5, you have that, you know. Exchange the video card, you know, then you have a better video card, you know. So, you know, I would be exchanging this, and this. So the GPU, the RAM, and the CPU, I would be looking to upgrade that. Those will be the perpetual upgrades for me with this system. So yeah. Now for the next system, the $550 build, which is the mid-range build. This is a pretty good system. You know, I have most of the components of the system except for the GPU. I have a lot less powerful GPU in my system currently. But one thing I want to say is that before we start this build, people who are looking to get into PC gaming, typically they want to get in at a certain point. You know, they all either want to go all out. You know, they want to spend like $1,000, or they're saving up, and that's what they get. Sometimes people want to get a mid-range PC that's not too expensive but not too cheap either. You know, it performs well for the money. And sometimes people are a strict budget but they still want to beat console. Then they get like a cheap PC like the last one I just showed you. And one other thing is that the last one I just showed you, if you want to compare it to like a PS4 or PS4 Pro, it will not, from what I know, it will not beat out the PS4 Pro, because the PS4 Pro could run 4K, and although that may run at like 30 FPS or something like that, the past PC can run maybe, you know, let me go back to it so I don't get anybody confused. This PC, it may be able to run 4K, you know. I don't know how, maybe at like a miracle, but I don't think you'll be running 4K with this PC. The most is 1440p if you're lucky. But this is a very good 1080p PC. So that's that. This PC, however, this $550 mid-range PC, should be able to do 1440p, maybe 4K, but 1440p, and most definitely 1080p. You should be maxing out on 1080p all your games. This has the new RX 480. And yeah, so that's a very good GPU. So to start off, let me open all these. Alright. CPU. I went with the Intel Core i3 6100 3.7 GHz dual core processor. And although it is dual core, it has hyper-threading, which makes it the i3. So it's pretty much the same thing as a Pentium, you know. 3 megabytes of L3 cache. It draws less power, which is very good. But yeah, so this is dual core and has hyper-threading. It is clocked at 3.7 gigahertz, which is higher than the Pentium, which was 3.3. And I personally have this processor, so from experience, it's a very good processor for gaming. However, if you're looking to get into like content creation, stuff like that, editing videos and all that, it's good, but like it's slow in some areas. Like if you're looking to edit a video and render it in like 1080p, and it's like a 5 minute long video, it's gaming and all that, it's gonna take you a lot longer than it would with like an i5 and especially i7. So if you're looking to get into content creation, I would swap this out for an i5. One like the cheapest i5, like the i5 6400. But this is a very good CPU for gaming. So there's not much else to say about it. The one thing I forgot to talk about actually was bottlenecks. So this will not bottleneck your RX 480 at all, from my knowledge. This is not going to bottleneck at all, or whatever GPU you decide to swap out for this build. So let me exit that out really quick. However, I forgot to talk about the last build again. I apologize, I keep going back to it. But the G4400, it shouldn't bottleneck the GTX 1050 or any other GPU, but it may in some cases, like GTA 5 and all that. So, because GTA 5 is a very CPU intensive game, so CPU intensive games, be ready for like to see some bottleneck. You know, be prepared. You know, I'm not saying that it's definitely gonna happen, but just don't be surprised if you see some bottleneck in those games. You know, that's why you don't pair like a 1080 with a G4400. But anyways, moving on. For this mid-range build, I chose the Gigabyte GA-H100M A Micro ATX LGA 1151 motherboard. Socket is 1151. Of course, Skylake. This also supports up to 32 gigabytes of RAM and DDR4 2133. So it's pretty much the same thing as the MSI motherboard I chose for the last build, except it's all black and it's a Gigabyte, and I had this motherboard. And yeah, I mean, there's really not much to say about it other than one thing that got me. I was putting the RAM in this motherboard, and when I was first building my PC, and I put in the RAM and I thought everything was fine. I booted it up and it wouldn't boot up, and I said, you know, like what's the problem? So I opened the case and I inspected the RAM, and it was like millimeters away from being into the socket. It wasn't fully in, so I had to push really like hard for a PC part. I had to push pretty hard if you're working with PC components, and then it was all fine and good. You know, I haven't had any problems since then. But yeah, it's been pretty good, and yeah, this is a really good motherboard. Other than that, some people complain about how the PCIe, the mini PCIe, I forgot what it's called, is too close to the PCIe X16 slot, which holds your GPU, graphics card. So, but I haven't experienced any problems. But that's the motherboard. Yep. For the RAM, this is expensive RAM. Oh, it went down in price. But in my opinion, this is expensive for what it was when I first got it. I got it when it was at like $42 or so. But Kingston HyperX Fury Black 8 gigabytes, two 4 gigabyte sticks of DDR4 2133 memory. As you can see, it's black. It has a heat spreader, which is good. You know, it's just your standard RAM. You know, and it will be faster than one single 8 gigabyte stick. Not that noticeable, and not noticeable at all in gaming, from my knowledge. But you know, this is just your basic RAM. For the hard drive, I went with the same Western Digital Caviar Blue. That's that. You know, I mean, explained it already in the previous build. But it's just your hard drive is gonna hold all your games, all your Steam games. You know, if you're looking to get into content creation, it should hold some of your videos and, you know, rendered videos and stuff like that. Yeah, it's very reliable. I have the same one, except it's a black edition, and yeah, it's reliable. That's all I have to say about it. Now, obviously, it has very good ratings. So, alright, moving on to the GPU. Some of you guys may be wondering why it's not like a GTX 1063 gigabyte or a GTX 1066 gigabyte. That is because this is less expensive, and you get a 8 gigabytes of VRAM for only $200 if you take advantage of the mail-in rebate, which is $30. The GTX 1063 gigabyte is, I think, the same price, but you only get 3 gigabytes of VRAM as opposed to 8 gigabytes with this. And you know, you could just overclock this. There's probably about a 10 to 15 FPS difference between this and the GTX 1063 gigabyte. But again, you can just overclock this. This has crossfire capability. You know, it's a pretty nice GPU, and this is most important towards gaming. Anybody, you know, any newbies or anything like that. So just letting you guys know, you know, this is the most crucial thing you want in the build for gaming. You know, you want to put all your money into the GPU. So, and the CPU, you know, don't cheap out on that, but the GPU is the most important part for gaming. So, this is going to do very well in Battlefield, all your games really. So, you know, you should be maxing out all the newest titles. Battlefield should be maxed out at very high textures, ultra textures. I mean, 2x MSAA or more. This should get you around 60 to 70 FPS on those settings, as high as they are. So yeah, that's the GPU. Alright, just wanted to pause the video real quick. Just wanted to specify that whenever I don't say the resolution of the game or when I tell you the settings, I'm talking about 1080p. So I just wanted to clear that up. For the case, I went with the Deep Cool Tesseract SW ATX mid-tower case. It is blue and black in the inside, so like a bruise. But so it's blue and black, and yeah, you know, it looks like a good case. I plan on getting this case for myself, so that's one of the reasons why I put it in for this build. It looks like it has good airflow. It comes with 2 fans. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, as you can see, 1, 2. You know, side panel window, all for $40. So it's the same price as the other Speckle one from Corsair, except it's just blue and black, which is, I like that color. Blue's my favorite color, so that's one of the reasons why I put it in. Plus, it fits with the black motherboard and black GPU. So yeah, that's the case. For the PSU, I again went with the Corsair CXM 450 watt. Now you may be thinking, yeah, that's not enough wattage to power the RX 480, which is a very power hungry card. It is a power hungry card, however, this is enough. You know, it may be shocking to some people or something like that, but you really don't need a lot of power to run CPU, GPU, and all that stuff. You know, I used to think that, oh yeah, if you're running like a Titan, you're gonna need like 2,000 watts or something like that. You don't need 2,000 watts. You know, the most you're gonna need for, like, if you want to run like a Titan is like 700 or something like that. So, because, you know, it doesn't take a whole lot of power. 2 reasons I know this is because, 1, the power wattage is showed right here. It tallies up the power wattage, you know, estimated wattage. And also, from experience, you know, I'm running a 350 watt power supply. I have a 750 Ti, an i3, 8 gigabytes of RAM. As a matter of fact, I have this exact CPU, motherboard, and RAM, and hard drive, really. And you know, it doesn't even go past like 250 watts from what I know. And yeah, so the power supply, that's the power supply. I think it's a good power supply. Looks like a good power supply. 4.9 average rated. It is semi-modular again, so you can take out some of the cables that you don't want or need. 80 plus bronze is always good. It's always a plus, you know. It's a plus, but anyways, that's the build. Now for the last build, this is the $800 high-end build, in my opinion. It's not too high-end, but from like my price point, what I would be buying PC parts, it's high-end in my opinion. So to start off with this build should be playing games at 1440p, 1080p max out for sure. You're gonna be maxing out all games at 1080p. Don't even worry about it. But so not like the other builds. The other build may struggle with some 1080p, maybe, but the previous build, it shouldn't really. But the major factor with this build is that it has an i5, which is really gonna help you a lot. So that's why I'm saying 1080p. Don't even worry about it. You're gonna be maxing it out. All the settings are gonna be maxed out. All of them. But 1440p. This should do 1440p, 60 FPS, stuff like that. It shouldn't struggle to do 1440p. 4K even you may be able to do on this. I would say, let's say you're playing GTA 5 on this 4K at 35 to 45 FPS. I'm gonna think, thinking about with this GPU here. But yeah, so anyways, this build is geared towards people who are content creators and gamers at the same time. So I recommend this build to people who are looking to get into content creation for YouTube or anything else, and gaming at the same time. So to start off, we have the Intel Core i5 6500 3.2 GHz quad-core processor. It's quad-core, which is very nice. It's gonna perform a lot better than an i3, which is dual-core hyper-threaded, which acts like a quad-core, but really isn't a true quad-core. True quad cores are way stronger than hyper-threaded. To give you an example, I think I saw a test from what's his name, Science Studio, I think it was. He was comparing an i3 6100 to an i5 6500, and I think in GTA 5 it got like 60 FPS on the i3 and like 120 on the i5, so like double the FPS. So I may be incorrect on that, don't quote me on that, but it was a very big gap. So 65 watts drawn, 6 megabytes of L3 cache, and there's no hyper threading, because if there were, it would be an i7. But yeah, that's the processor. It should do really good, and especially with editing, rendering, it should render files quickly, video and all that stuff, way quicker than an i5, of course. I'm sorry, i3, of course. But yeah, that's the processor. For the motherboard, we have the MSI Z170A Crate Gaming 3X ATX motherboard. I'm not gonna say LGA 1151 because these are all Skylake builds. Oh, before I continue, if you're wondering why I'm not doing AMD builds, it's because you could buy better Intel processors at their prices better than AMD. If you know what I'm trying to say, like, the price difference between a AMD FX 6300 and an i3 6100 is like $20, and the 6300 came out in like what, 2012, 2011, probably 2012, when the i3 just came out last year, 2015. So yeah, that's why I think the Intel processors are better to go for, because also they're more you get more performance. You're gonna get more performance out of an i3 rather than a FX 6300. So, or an i3 6100 to be specific. So that's why I would go with Intel rather than AMD. If I could do AMD builds, write in the comments, type in the comments if you want to see me do AMD builds. I have nothing against AMD, just because my channel logo or whatever it is, the profile picture is of an NVIDIA sign, is because I have a GTX 750 Ti, and I just, I have an NVIDIA card, so I just put NVIDIA as my profile picture. I have nothing against AMD. AMD is very good. I've had AMD processors in the past. I've never had an AMD GPU, but I know the processors are, they're pretty good. So, yeah. Anyways, the motherboard, I think I already said the name of it already. Black and white. I tried to make this build black and white. DDR4 2133, 2400, 2800, 3000, 3200, and 3600 is supported. Maximum memory of 64 gigabytes, so you could load this thing up with memory, on all 4 slots. That'll be ideal. No, not ideal. It would be extreme, in my opinion. You don't need that unless you're doing like Photoshop or like extreme rendering, something like that. But yeah, so that's this. It does support SLI. The GPU we got does not support SLI. GPU I chose does not support SLI, but you know, if you want to swap that out for anything, you can, and it supports Crossfire also. So if you want to swap it out for an RX 480 or for a 1070, there you go. You know, you should have your SLI and you have your Crossfire. You could just grab another GPU in the future. So that's the motherboard. You know, nothing much to say about it. It's by MSI. For the RAM, again, I went with the Kingston HyperX Fury Black 8GB sticks, two 4GB modules, and yeah, this is just basic RAM. You know, it's black heat spreader. It says HyperX on the front, and I like that. It's a nice design. DDR4 2133, one of the cheaper sets of RAM you could get. Although it's expensive, it's compared to the other sets, it's cheap. And yeah, there's not much more to say about that. Alright, so for the hard drive, I went with a Western Digital Black Series 1TB hard drive. This hard drive, I have this hard drive myself. It's very reliable. It's just like the Caviar Blue, except it's faster. It's very reliable, and it's a lot faster than the Caviar Blue in applications. Like, for example, GTA 5 would normally load at like 45 seconds to a minute. On this, it loads at 30 seconds. It is a very good drive. You know, I have it myself. I recommend this drive, and if you can, I would get an SSD with this build, because you want to be starting up really quick. You know, because with PC gaming, you want to maximize your performance, but you know, you don't want to be booting up slower than a console. So if you can get an SSD, your boot times will boost. You know, you could boot faster. Obviously, you're gonna have a console killer already with the hardware that's packed into this machine. But you know, if you can add an SSD, that would be perfect, because you know, you're gonna be booting up faster. But yeah, this hard drive is very good, very reliable, and very fast. That's really it. You know, very good, very reliable, very fast. That's the sum up of the hard drive. For the GPU, I'm with the black and white again, because the theme of this build is black and white. The MSI GeForce GTX 1060 6GB OC, so I guess it's, oh yeah, it's overclocked by like 3 megahertz or 3 gigahertz. So yeah, it does not support SLI, which is unfortunate. Again, you know, you're gonna have to upgrade to a 1070 if you want to get a better NVIDIA GPU. If you could upgrade to an RX 480, which would not make any sense at all, because it's pretty much worse or equivalent to this GPU. So if you want a better GPU, you're gonna need to upgrade to like the 1070 or higher, or the Fury X maybe. I don't know how good that is, but the Fury X. And yeah, this nothing much to say about the specs. You know, 6 gigabytes, 1.5 core clock gigahertz. You know, it's good high core clock. It supports G-Sync, which I don't know if you guys want to take advantage of that, but that's that. And performance-wise, which is most important, again, you're going to be maxing out 1080p, no problem. All games 1080p maxed out. 1440p, you should be good on about high, medium to high settings. I think you could do high to ultra settings, but you're going to be getting, say 60 FPS and lower. By the way, 1080p, you should be getting like 100 FPS plus on all games maxed out. Battlefield 100 FPS plus, Doom 100 FPS plus, no doubt about that. Fallout 4 100 FPS or 80 FPS plus. CS:GO, you're gonna be getting like 300, 400 FPS maxed out with this. You know, I have CS:GO in the 750 Ti. I'm sorry, I run CS:GO with the 750 Ti. And I get like 250 FPS. So, you know, imagine with this, which is like what, 3 times faster and better than 750 Ti, you're probably gonna be getting 400 FPS or more. So, yeah, if you're a CS:GO player, and yeah, if you get this GPU, it would be best paired with like either 1080p 144 Hz monitor or a 1440p 60 Hz monitor. Or if you want to, you know, go a little bit cheaper, do 1080p 60 Hz. You know, that fits too. But yep, that's it for the GPU. For the case, I went with again white and black NZXT S340. ATX mid tower. Um, you know, it looks nice. It's ergonomic. It looks like has a side panel window. You fit the cables in the back of the case. It has nice airflow. There's a grate where you could open. You know, there's a dust filter, so you could open that. You know, clear out the dust and stuff like that. Front panel USB 3 ports, which is common, but you know, some cases don't have that. Although they are rare. And yeah, it's just you can fit a lot. You know, if you want to do SLI, you're covered. You know, you have plenty of PCIe. I guess you can call them slots. Yeah, you have plenty of PCIe slots there. Have a fan here. Nice logo right there, NZXT. And yeah, nice accent. That's the case. For the power supply, I went with the fully modular 550 watt EVGA Supernova G2. You can take out all the cables on this power supply. The ones you don't need, you don't need to use at all. You know, you can take out all the cables on this power supply, as you can see here. You know, yeah, it's gonna look very nice in the case. You know, this build was also an aesthetic build. You know, to look aesthetic, but to make it look nice. You know, so yeah, the case is gonna look nice with this PSU because it's gonna look nice because you could take out the wires you don't need, and you know, when those are out, it's not gonna look cluttered and together and all that. So yeah, that's nice. It's 550 watts, and although it may look like it's not enough to power this build, it says 280 watts right here. And again, you know, it should be enough. Let's see, really quick. 120 watts at the most. So I think you're covered. This only draws like what, 65 watts. Yeah, so it's 185 watts. The processor and the GPU, which draw the most amount of wattage. 185 watts. You know, you still have a lot of wattage left with this PSU, which gives you 550 watts. So you're good. You're covered on the PSU. Yeah, that's it. You know, my thoughts on this build. Things I would change out if you want to go more higher end. You know, if you want to go higher budget, I would swap out this i5 with the i7 6700K. Since this motherboard is overclockable, you can overclock the CPU on this motherboard. I would put 16 gigabytes of RAM instead of 8 gigabytes. I would add an SSD, and I would swap the 1060 out with a 1070. That will give you probably 4K, 1440p to 4K performance, maxing out 1440p and doing really good in 4K. And for that build, you know, that's a super VR build. You know, you can already do VR with this build, but that's perfect for VR, perfect for all that stuff. If you want to go a higher budget, and maybe you need to upgrade the power supply if that's too much power wattage. Matter of fact, let me check really quick right now. Oh, CPU cooler. Alright, let's look for a 1070 real quick. Something that's black and white. Wait a second. Ooh. That is nice. Alright, let's see. 170. Alright. RAM for 16 gigabytes. Wow, $94 for 16 gigabytes. That is expensive. So yeah, now this makes the build like almost $1,200, so $1,200 almost. Yeah, this as you can see, the power wattage went up significantly. So I would recommend upgrading the power supply with this, just to be sure. You know, you never know. You may want to overclock the processor or the GPU or the RAM. So yeah, you would need a better power supply for that, I think. But these are the builds. So to wrap it up, for a $380 build, with a Pentium G4400, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and a GTX 1050 2 gigabyte. My thoughts, I would recommend exchanging this with an i3, exchanging this with a 1050 Ti or a 1063 gigabyte, and keeping everything else the same, and keep getting two 4 gigabyte sticks instead of one 8 gigabyte sticks, just for aesthetics and speed. But really, I mean, if you're on a tight budget, this is perfectly fine, you know. For the people who are getting in, they want budget PC gaming, you know, this should do really fine right now. This should be good. I do not recommend, if you want to go lower than this, I wouldn't go any lower with the RAM. 6 gigabytes is the lowest I would go with RAM, which is I think is very hard to find, but of DDR4 from my knowledge. But yeah, so that's my final thoughts on the $380 build. For the $550 build, I would recommend exchanging the RX 480 with a 1060 6 gigabyte, or upgrading this, getting an SSD. That's the most important part of this build, getting an SSD, adding an SSD. Same with this one, I forgot to add it in because this hard drive is a little bit faster, but getting an SSD, that's my only recommendation for this build. And for this one, I would recommend upgrading the CPU and or GPU, because this is oriented to more of a high-end spectrum of PC gaming. So, you know, people who are looking to get this build are already looking to spend, you know, quite a lot of money. So, you know, if you're looking to get this build, I would just get the i7 6700K, you know, straight up, so you don't have to upgrade later or buy it later. Don't worry about that. But this build is fine too. And before we end the video, I just want to say one thing. Thank you so much for the views in the channel. The views have gone up, although I only have, what, 17, 18 subscribers. I got 200 views or more on the CSGO video at the time of this recording date, as you can see, 11/11/2016. I would like to say, please subscribe to the channel. I will be posting more videos soon as I get new hardware, and hopefully Christmas I get a better GPU, better CPU, whatever it is. I could post more quality videos, more content will be pushed out. But right now I only have a i3 6100 and a 750 Ti, and you could tell me in the comments, or you know, what you want to see with that. If you want to see more tests with that, I will be posting a video most likely tomorrow of the 750 Ti on Rainbow Six Siege benchmarked. So if you're interested in that, check that out tomorrow or 2 days from now. I'll probably see, you know, I'll see when that's gonna be. The most 2 days, but stay tuned on the channel for more content like this and anything else. You know, the comment section needs to be active so I could see what it is people want. And yeah, that's it. So comment what you guys would like to see next. I will be posting the 750 Ti video, like I said. But if you want to see more videos like this of PC builds or me talking or whatever it is, comment down below. And it's been JXT Plays. I'm out. Bye.